Hey y'all, Ariel here. Welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, the face is beat down. Okay, I feel like this is one of my signature beats. Like whenever I'm going out, if I want a specific look, this is my go-to. Okay, like I didn't think I had a signature look until like my friends was like, Ariel, you have a signature look. Like this is basically my signature. I feel like the face is simple, but like it's Ariel. So if you guys want to see how I achieve my signature beat, as well as get some tips and tricks, continue to keep on watching. All right, you guys. So I feel like I haven't been doing my makeup, like my makeup lately. So we're about to change that. I'm doing full face today. Okay, like this is gonna be my signature look basically. I'm gonna bring my light closer so I can see what I'm doing. I do have a mirror right here, y'all. So if I look down right here, or I look down over here, or at my viewfinder, I have 3 different angles. Well, actually 4. So I have this viewfinder, that viewfinder, this mirror, and then this mirror. So let's get started. Again, this is a full face beat, okay? This is the type of look I would do if I'm really trying to like go out and be a baddie. Like full face, doll face, snatched. That's the type of look I'm going for today. So I'm going to take my Got To Be glued, and I'm going to put this all over my brows. And I'm going to make sure to really coat the brows with this. I want to make sure that I have my tail portion very flat, because I don't know, I just love that snatched type of brow. I'm not really a fan of the fluffy brow because I just feel like it doesn't look right on me. So once I have that first layer of my Got To Be, I like to take my fingers and kind of press it in. Not too harsh, because I still want my natural brows to kind of be 3D. So I don't want this to be too flat, but I want to make sure that the product is drying my brow hairs in the direction I want them to lay. So you kind of want to take your time. You don't have to do this. If you want to use like a brow gel, you can, but I feel like those aren't strong enough for my brows. I've seen people use edge control as well, but I feel like that will make it too greasy. Going in with one more layer, just a little bit on the tail portion, just to make sure that they don't kind of like rise back up. Sometimes the residue will try to like roll off the brow and have like that little cast, that little castaway feeling. Just rub it off. I just like to rub it off. And I'm going to allow this to dry down completely before we go into the next step. So now that my brows are completely dried, I have 2 brow pens. I used to use pencils. Not saying that I wouldn't use a pencil, but as of lately, like for the past couple of months, I've been using these brow pens. I have the NYX Professional. This is the Lift and Snatched in the shade Brunette. And this one is more of the high-end kind. This is the Lancome in the shade Matte Syrup Brown. This one right here is my baby, but you can also get away with using these because these are really good as well. Because this one is a little brighter, I don't want my brows to be too dark. I'm gonna go in with my Lancome, and I like to raise my brow up and go in and lightly sketch. Fill in the little gaps, keeping my brow raised so I can really create that arch. And then for the top portion, I start where the arch begins, follow my natural brow, and slide it down just like that. I know it looks crazy, but whenever I elongate the brow, it carves out better when I go in with my concealer. So now we're just gonna fill it in. And then you can make your little strokes in the front, your fake brow hairs. And that's about it for the brow. Same thing for this brow. Raise my brow. And I'm starting kind of where my eye color starts. I don't want to go all the way up here because then my brows are going to look boxy. And I'm making sure to really feather this out with just the tip of the pen, because sometimes when you lay it flat, it kind of creates this little bump right here, and you don't want that because that's too much. So boom, it looks crazy. Now where the arch begins is where I'm gonna do the top portion. A little bit goes a long way as well, so we working with a little something, okay? And then again, if you want to do the little flicks to make your fake brow hairs, you can, and just fill in the little gaps. The NYX is actually darker than the Lancome, so if I want to actually add some definition to the brows, I'll just fill in the back portion only, not the front. Again, a little bit goes a long way. You may not see it while you're doing it, but eventually, like, I don't know how to explain it. It just fills in the spaces a little bit at a time. Whenever I do my signature looks, I like to go in with products that I know for a fact is going to work for me. And when it comes down to concealers, I like for my concealers to not be so runny, but not too thick, kind of in between. So I can really get that consistency when it's time to carve out my brows. Like, I just love a snatched face, y'all. I'm actually going to take 3 concealers. I have 2 from LA Girl Pro. This one is Toast, and then this one is the shade Almond. I'm going to put Toast towards the front portion of my brows, and then Almond is going to go towards the back portion. And if I want a more lifted look, the 3rd concealer is the Super Stay from Maybelline. This is the shade 27. Now, this one right here is a matte concealer, and if I want that extra little boost, then I will add it like as a last resort. But for now, we're going to just stick to the LA Girl. So I like to put them on the back of my hand. And don't be afraid to use a decent amount of product. Like, you don't want to go and use a boatload of product, but you also want to make sure that you're using enough product. Like, I feel like most of the time it's because a lot of people don't use enough product on their face, and that's why their makeup doesn't look good. Like, you still want to make sure that you doing your 1-2, okay? So I'm gonna take this paintbrush. This is a Moderna paintbrush, and we're going in with Toast first. And I like to still raise my brow up, and I like to hold my brush as if like I'm sketching. Raise it up, and I have this mirror downward, like at a downward angle. Instead of me looking face to face, I feel like I get a more precise carve whenever I look down. So, and I'm not going to start directly where I want the concealer to actually lay. We're going to start a little below it so that things are closer than they appear. Kind of like the mirrors on your car. Things are closer than they appear. So you want to make sure that you raising your brows up, starting lower, because eventually that concealer is going to kind of maneuver itself higher than where you're actually placing it. And boom. And then I'm going to use the side, and we're going to boom. Now that I have the left portion finished, I always like to make sure that I have product on both sides of my brush. Now that I have this side, I can twist it and flip it over to the next side and do the same exact thing without actually having to go back into my hand. It's all about your product control, okay? So we're going to lift the brows up, start lower, kind of create that line with your sketch, and see how I'm using my cheek as like my pillow. I'm gonna use that to have a steady hand basically, and you want to just sketch it. It's not all the way where I want it to be, but now that I have most of the product off of my brush, I can turn it sideways, get the rest off, And we're gonna go in and flatten and smooth this out. Now that I have the product on my lid, I can use whatever is right here to pull it up in the direction where I really want it to lay. Boom. Just like that. Turn it to the side again. Smooth it out. And now you have the basics of, or the beginning of your brow completed. So I'm going to flatten this out. Boom. Also, the way you lay your concealer is going to determine how your brow is curved. Like sometimes I'll go straight, but I don't know if y'all can tell. I have it kind of slanted of how I have my concealer laid. Like, am I making sense? Like, can y'all see the little slant? I have it curved like this instead of me going straight. I just feel like that's how I get that little, you know. We're gonna leave that front portion alone for right now. You're gonna take a brush. Let me find one. This is my Morphe M173 brush. I absolutely love this brush. This is my favorite brush. When it comes down to blending out my brow concealer, this one right here will forever be a staple. So we're just gonna tap, sweep, tap, sweep, tap, sweep, tap, sweep. And we're gonna blend this out. As you can see, Toast is more so of my complexion shade. I don't want to be too bright. Now, to each his own. You can go bright all over the brow, but when I do this signature look, I like for my makeup to be eating down, okay? So, boom. We're going to blend this out. Tap, tap, tap. Pat, pat, pat. Swiper, no swiping. If y'all hear noises, they're cutting grass outside. And, yeah. So, boom. I have that completed. To blend this out, we're going to tap, 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 pat, 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 swiper, no swiping. And we're also tap sweeping at the same time. Tap, sweep, tap, sweep, tap, sweep, tap, 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 pat, 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 swiper, no swiping. You don't want to do this, okay? Because, I mean, you can, but I just feel like it's not going to give a smooth finish. I'm the type of person, I like to take my pictures with the flash on. And if I'm using my phone, I like to use the back camera. And most times I like to take pictures with my DSLR. And if you take your pictures with your professional camera, it's going to tell you everything, okay? It's going to be all in your business. So I feel like everybody should at least try to take pictures with the back camera and the flash on, because that's how you learn how to blend a little bit more. That's how you learn literally everything, like your placement of how your makeup turns out. Don't be ashamed if it doesn't look good on the back camera, but that's how you learn. That's how I learned. Like, okay, I need to learn how to blend a little bit closer to my brow. I need to learn how to blend my foundation and my concealer a little bit better. Like, that's how you learn. You gotta look a little crazy before it gets better. Now I'm using that same brush because I do not like washing makeup brushes, y'all. And I'm gonna coat the front and back of my brush with almond this time, the lighter shade. We're gonna do the same exact thing. Raise the brow up, and we're gonna start where the arch is, right here. And then I'm gonna start lower than where I want it to actually lay, and we're just gonna carve. So we have a little space. Hopefully y'all can see that. And then now we're gonna lay it flat, get rid of that product. One side per side, okay? This side right here with all this product is for this brow. So whatever we have right here is all we're gonna use for this left brow. And I'm gonna make sure that my brow is raised so I can really create that curve for the arch. And boom. Using only the tip of this brush. And boom. So we have that. Using the side of the brush, and we're gonna lay this concealer nice and flat. Just like that. If it's not perfect, it's okay, because you can go on with the second layer as well. I'm satisfied with this, so I'm going to take that same brush. We're going to raise our brow. I'm going to start where the almond ends. Now we're just going to tap and blend without moving the brush, right? And then we're going to drag it down. So tap in place, drag it down. Tap in place, drag it down. Tap in place, drag it down. And what we're doing is kind of drying that concealer down. So now we're going to go back to where almond and toast meets. And we're going to zigzag back, back, forth and forth, back, back, forth and forth. Let me see you go back, back, forth and forth. Just like that. And what this is doing is meshing and kind of colliding those two concealers together. Just like that. And then drag it down. We're just basically getting rid of the extra product that's on the brush. So boom, I'm not going to touch this because I kind of want this to dry down and give me that very much so snatched full coverage brow. And this is a key for when your concealers are a little runny as well. Like, let it sit for a little second with your skin and let it warm up a bit. Let it dry down. And you see how I have it laid? You see it's not messy. It's kind of neat, okay? It's neat in a sense. This is how I want it to dry down. I don't want it to dry down looking crazy. Say I was to let it dry down and, for example, on this side, say I did this and it dries down this way. It does not look neat. Whenever you go to try to blend it, it's going to leave patches. And then say you want to put concealer on top and then you try to go in and blend that. It's going to basically stand out, if I'm making sense. Like, it's going to stand out because you allow that layer to dry down. So now it's like a sticker on your brow. Versus this side, we didn't technically blend it all the way, but it's nice and flat. You always want to make sure that your concealers are nice and neat, and the way you want them to lay and dry down, that's the way you need to make sure that you're curving it out. I hope I didn't make y'all confused when I said that. But anyways, all in all, just remember to lay it down flat so it can dry down in the way you want it to dry and lay. Yeah. So again, we're gonna raise the brow up and sketch with leaving that little space, taking the tip, going closer to where we want it to really, you know. And boom. So we're gonna turn the brush to the side. And this is going to smooth and flatten that concealer out. Now to blend this section, you want to jog it in place. Tap, 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 pat, 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 swiper, no swiping. Jog it in place and drag it down. Jog it in place, drag it down. Jog it in place, drag it down. And what we're doing, again, we're just getting rid of the extra product. So look at all that product that came from when we jogged in place. Now that we have the product off of the brush, you want to do your zigzag back, back, forth and forth, back, back, forth and forth motions to merge those two concealer shades together so they can become one. And you want to do like your little flicks, basically. You can do it upward, but then that's gonna basically erase toast. So I like to flick backwards. Just like that. And if you feel like you wanna clean your brush or you feel like you got too much product on your brush, take a paper towel and just circle it. And then you're gonna transfer all of the gook off of the brush hairs onto the paper. And you have a soft and dry tool to work with. So boom. I have that. Now back to this brow. It's dried down for the most part, so I shouldn't have a lot of transfer. I'm just going to tap downward. Tap, sweep, tap, sweep. I don't know if y'all can tell, but it's kind of stagnant now. Just like this. It's stagnant, but it's not dried all the way to where I can't blend it out. Just like that. So the same thing for this. You just want to blend it out. It should be a little stubborn on you because we allowed it to dry in place. And boom. It's going to cause for the product to kind of stay stuck and not move as much. So the base of the concealer the concealer that's closest to your skin, that little layer will dry down, and then whatever is on top, hopefully I'm making sense. I am so not trying to confuse y'all, but all in all, just let it dry down, child. And boom. So we got that. Compared to this, we're going to allow this one to dry down for at least 10 more seconds. I honestly feel like I don't have to go in with my Maybelline, so I'm not. I'm just going to go in and blend this because I feel like this almond shade it's bright enough to give me that snatched appearance. I'm satisfied with this. You can stop right here if you want to, but if you're extra like me, sometimes I like to go in and add a second layer. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm taking Toast again, and I'm going to make this line a little more precise. Just a little bit. The way I'm holding my brush, I want to have more control, so I have it closer. I have my hand laid closer to the brush hairs versus if I was to hold my brush like this, I will give the brush more control, and I'm not having that. Okay, so I want full control of this because I want to actually pinpoint where I want the concealers to lay. So I have that first layer of Toast. Being that I'm not adding any eyeshadow, I still want to make sure that my lid is covered. So I went in with a little bit more of Toast. And I'm going to basically lay this on my entire lid. At least the front portion, okay? Majority of my lid, I need Toast to cover it up. I'm going to go in, get rid of that extra product. And then create our line, and boom, I have full control over my brush, so I'm able to really lay the product down the way I want it to. This concealer lines up to where my brow hairs begin, a little above it actually. Kind of like the beginning of where your nose bridge is. That's how I like to go ahead and fully coat my my brow area. So I'm gonna actually mix these two shades together, right? And we're gonna have a new shade. It's not gonna be that much of a difference. It's gonna be more of a neutral. And what I'm gonna do with this is put it right here. It's not going to be a huge difference, but I want dimension on my lid. So I have my bright area right here. I have my mediocre in the middle, and then I have my darker shade right here. And I'm just going to boom. I'm not going to touch it. We're just going to leave it alone and let it dry down, and then we'll blend it out. Okay, so I'm going to blend out the front portion first. Tap, 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 pat, 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 swiper, no swiping. I always blend out the darker shade first and then blend out the lighter shade because I don't want to disrupt the color in the front. Boom, just like that. So now we're going in and blending out the last portion of concealer. Making sure that I blend it all the way out. Even if I have to go all the way right here and blend it, I want to make sure this is nice and neat, nice and flat. So make sure that you're not missing any portion of your lid, okay? Same thing. It's not going to be very, very noticeable that we used 3 different shades. You don't even have to do this if you don't want to, but like, I don't know, it makes a difference. That's all I'll say. I'm going to go in and lock my lid in place. I'm taking my Maybelline press powders, 310, 360. Going in with 310 because it matches the arch area, and then 360 is gonna match the front portion. Okay, it's more of my complexion shade. So you want to make sure you have no type of creasing. Okay, you shouldn't, because we allowed the concealers to dry down, but for the sake of this video, we're gonna go in and tap everything nice and neat. There should be no icky looking whatever. Okay, boom. So I'm gonna go in with 360 first. I have this foundation brush, and I'm literally gonna put it on the front portion of the lid. Only the front, okay? Just like that. Just like that. Making sure you really lock that concealer in place. We do not want it to move throughout the day. If you want to use a loose powder, you can, but I feel like as a beginner, press powders first, okay? Boom. So we have the front portion nicely locked. We're now going to go in with the shade 310, and I'm using the opposite side of the brush. We're going to make sure to raise the brow up, and we're going to literally do like a jigsaw puzzle and tap it along the brow line, just like that. And then whatever is left over, we're going to drag it down. Only on the arch area, okay? Just like that. Now we're going in again, adding some more powder. We're going to raise the brow up. Jigsaw puzzle that powder into that little arch area. Tap, 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 pat, pat, pat. Swiper, no swiping. And you literally just want to go in and press it into the brow bone area. Whatever is left over, we're going to drag this powder down, so it just won't be that little weird line. We want everything to be an ombre. Makeup is overlapping, blending, and tapping, okay? And boom. So we have that, right? But we're not done. Now I'm going to take a medium shade. This is 332. And this is a little bit darker than 310. Take this shade and we're going to use it as our mixture shade. That mediocre shade that I mixed toast and almond together. This is going to basically act as the covering for this portion. So we have 3 different powders on the lid to add dimension. Don't tell nobody I had to tell y'all this, okay? I'm giving y'all my little secrets today. And boom. And they're all gonna kind of coincide together in a symphony, okay? So just a reminder, look at the gradient of how it goes from lightest to darkest, okay? That's basically, it's all in color theory, I feel like, with your makeup. But that dimension, this is how you get it, by adding different shades of color. People can say whatever they want to about LA Girl Pro, but listen, she has never failed me, okay? Out of all the close to 7-8 years of me doing my makeup, she gets me right. She's definitely in my top 2, and she is not number 2. I would rate this as my number 1 concealer, because like, she just gets me right. She's inexpensive, and honestly, she can go toe to toe. She could go toe to toe with some of my high end. I promise you that. Like, I put that on everything. Let's not get it twisted. She's definitely mother, okay? Yeah. By the way, this is the shade Espresso. I feel like Espresso is my actual shade. Like, she just gets me right, okay? So I'm going to clean off the same brush, because we do not like to waste brushes. I don't like to clean brushes. Child, listen. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and coat the brush on both sides, just like that. And I'm going to go in and sketch the top portion. I might need to do this little number. Yeah. Okay. So, same thing. Leave a little space and get rid of that product off the brush and just sketch. Just like that. Now this step is different. We're going to use both sides of the brush for this one side. Boom, just like that. I kind of want this to be a little thinner. I don't want a thick brow today. Boom, just like that. I'm not going to touch it. Coating this brush one more time for this side. I'm going to actually take my fingers, and I'm not touching all the way where the brow hairs are, just the top portion, okay? And we're going to blend that upwards. Whenever you're doing your top brow, you always want to make sure you're blending it upward. Whenever you do your bottom portion, you want to blend down. Right here is kind of like the map of how your brows will look. Now, me personally, I'm going to go in with a second layer of concealer at the top because I want a more curvature type of look. Just like that. And lastly, this side. I always like to have a handheld mirror as well. So I'm going to take my brush, and this time we're going to blend it upward. I have a little bit of concealer left over. I'm just going to put it on the brush because we can use this later. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and do my wing actually because, I don't know, I feel like my wings come out better when my face is completely dried without moisturizing. So that's what I'm going to do. And by the way, I did not put anything on my face before doing my brows as well. Everything turns out better whenever my face is completely dry for the wing and the brow portion. So for my wing, we're taking the Sephora liner. This is the best liner there is. And I'm not going to do too dramatic of a wing, I don't think. Let me hold my breath. Okay, so I'm going to allow this to dry down. It's not completely finished, but I'm going to kind of explain what I did on this right eye. You want to make sure that you have a good amount of product on your liner brush. So I like to start where the eye ends and create my line, okay? just like that. You can go little and then build it up, but I have that. So I took my tool, put it back into the container, got more product. Instead of me starting at the very tip, I'm gonna start right here where I put a little dot right there, and we're gonna connect it to the lash line. So just like that. And we created this obtuse triangle, right? Going back into my container, getting more product. And now I'm going to start in the middle of my eye, create a line, and then create the second portion of that line. We're going to just blend everything together. So it's kind of like a three-step thing. The first line is the beginning of the obtuse and then connecting it, and then just creating that little line towards the lash line. And then after you have that place, you just want to dress it up basically. So I'm going to allow that to dry. It's not perfect, okay? But that's the basics of how you do your wing. 3 lines, that's all you got to think about. I'm going to dress this one up. You see how it has this line? I want to add a little curve to it, so I'm going to make a slight little slant. So y'all see how I did that? And boom. Boom, just like that. You don't have to do your wings as dramatic as I do, but this is my signature look, y'all. Like, I've come to the conclusion that I have a signature face whenever I want to do my makeup to go out or to take some bomb pictures. So again, we're gonna dress it up. My wings never turn out even, but it's okay. I'm satisfied, so I'm going to allow this to dry down. To make the wing a little more intense, I'm going to add some black eyeshadow just towards like the lining, not necessarily the wing itself. Well, actually, no. We're going to do the entire thing, okay? It's go bold or go home. By the way, this is a Japanese brush. I don't know the number. It doesn't have a number. But I think I got it from TJ Maxx, if I'm not mistaken. You definitely don't have to do that. But I just feel like it just, I don't know, it does something to the look, okay? So we have that, and now I'm going to go in with some mascara to coat my lashes. For mascara, I'm taking my Superfan from Smashbox. This is one of my favorite mascaras, y'all. Like, she's definitely that girl. Making sure that I coat them really nice. Get them all the way together because, yeah. A little bit has changed with this routine. Not a lot, but I just felt like getting really, really cute and dolled up today because, like, I've been getting dolled up, but I don't know. My makeup routine just haven't been eating the way I really wanted to, and I feel like it's because I've always been rushing when I was doing my makeup. I've been going a lot of places lately. Like, I've been a busy girl. So I was like, let me sit down and really take the time out to do my makeup. I ended up stacking some of my AriWinkle lashes just to see what it would look like. And when I tell y'all, I don't know why I haven't tried this prior to doing this now. Like, I'm on week 2 of stacking my lashes, and it's definitely a vibe. I can't remember the lashes that I chose, but I want to say it's Vivacious and Skip to My Loot. I can't remember, but they're nice and full and fluffy, y'all. Like, do you see that? Look at it. So pretty. Like, I love me a bold lash. Okay, they're not too much for me. Now if you want smaller lashes, I suggest you try Medallion from my website. Those aren't too bad. Honeydew is a good choice as well, because they're still kind of fluffy, but they're not too big on the eyes. Daffodil as well, but I'm sold out of Daffodil. I have to actually restock soon, and yeah, I will let y'all know. But to each his own. I love me a bold lash. Okay, I'm also using my dual lash glue. This is the best lash glue for me, y'all. Like, she gets me right every single time. I'm just gonna make sure that this lash is saturated, not fully saturated, but saturated, because sometimes my eyes get to watering because I wear contacts and my eyes are so sensitive. So I want to make sure that my lashes do not move throughout the day. I actually need to go buy me some more lash glue. This is nicely coated. Y'all see that? You want to make sure that you're using a good amount. Don't be afraid to use your makeup, y'all. Like, a little dab of this and a little dab of that is just not going to do the job. Unless that's the look you're going for. You don't have to be ashamed to wear your makeup products, because that's what you bought it for, right? Like, it's either I'm going to do full face, soft glam, or no makeup at all. That's just me, you know? So we're going to allow these to get tacky. In the meantime, between time, we're going to do the skin prep. Pause. So usually I will go in and clean up my wing, but I feel like they're pretty precise for the most part today. So I'm not going to bother with them. I don't want to mess it up. We're just going to do skin prep. This is the Kiehl's Ultra Facial Cream. When I tell y'all, this right here is such a good moisturizer to use on your face. Even if you weren't doing makeup, I definitely stand by this product. It's so good. You want to make sure that you get your face coated with moisturizers and primers, because this is the most important part of doing your makeup. It's gonna help your foundation, your powders, your concealers to last and to look really good. For primers, I have the Photo Finish. This is my staple. This is the OG, the go-to. She's so good. Like, this right here, sis gets me right every single time, okay? And then this one right here, this is the Secure the Sweat from One Size. She has been getting me right as well. Like, when I tell y'all this stuff actually works, my mouth is very problematic when it comes down to sweating. And I always put it like around my mouth and a little around my nose. This stuff right here is definitely worth it. Like, I love it, okay? I just don't like that the container that it's in, like, it kind of like shoves the product out, or maybe it's how I pushed it, I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna buff this into my face. I feel like I put too much on my face, actually. It's okay. Yeah, I definitely put too much on my face, but it's okay. Make sure that I blend this out. Okay, now for Smashbox, just a little bit of this. I'm going to use like a pea size. Blend this together. And I like to put this under my eyes. It just does something, y'all. Like, oh my gosh. I don't know. I just love being a makeup girly. Okay? Y'all speak the same language as me, and I love that for us, because some people just don't get it. The girls that get it, and the ones that don't just don't. Okay? My lashes are still becoming tacky, so in the meantime, between time, I'm going to clean this up. I didn't add anything to this brush. We're just going to blend those little concealed sections out to look neat, because you don't want it to look like this and then go in with foundation. Like, make sure everything is nice and neat. Telling y'all, blending, tapping, and overlapping, and being neat with it. That's the key to your makeup looking good, okay? So I'm gonna moisturize my lips. This is the Clinique Lip Surge. So bomb, okay? This one, and I also like the what is it? The glosses from Lawless. So good. I feel like I've been having a hard time finding my right foundation shade, and the seasons have changed. I don't know if I'm losing my touch or what, but I got 3 foundations, okay? We're gonna mix all 3 together, or I might layer them. I'm shaking them up actually to get all of the formula nice and blended. I have the CoverGirl True Blend. This is the shade D60. I feel like this is actually my shade. I also have my One Size foundation. This is the Turn Up the Base foundation in the shade Dark Deep 45G. And lastly, I have New Caledonia from NARS. So I know that this is a little too red for me. This is a little too dark for me. It has like a little olive undertone, and then this one is neutral, okay? So I'm gonna put this one on first, because like I said, I feel like this one is my actual shade, but then, like, I don't know, once it oxidizes, it just does something. It's a great foundation, by the way, but I don't know, I feel like I'm missing something with my foundation shades. So look at that. And not to mention that I do have multiple shades of melanin on my skin. So yeah, I think I am going to layer those foundations. Here, along my jawline is where I'll probably put New Caledonia. Okay, so that's the CoverGirl. Like, I feel like it's a good shade, but I don't know. I feel like I need to get more neutral shade foundations. I would add like the blue pigment to my face, but chill, I ain't got time for that today. We're gonna make it work, okay? By the way, this is a It's Cosmetics airbrush. This is for blurring your foundation. This is the number 101 brush, and it's really good. I love it. It's kind of equivalent to the e.l.f. Blending brush. Do I have one on me? Let me see. These two, don't laugh at my brush, okay? Because she been through it, okay? These two go hand in hand. I feel like the brush hairs is kind of like the same little curvature, the same structure, basically. So yeah, but yeah, I really do love this brush right here. This gets me right every single time. And whatever is on the brush, I feel like I'm having a deja vu moment. Oh my gosh. Whatever is left on the brush, I'm gonna put it on the forehead. Like I always say, my forehead is the background feature, because I don't know, I just feel like you don't need that much on your forehead. Now, if you have like a little acne or whatever like that, take you some concealer and dab it on it. Let it dry down without blending it out, and then go in with some foundation on top. But don't use a lot, okay? And then I like to kind of flick whatever is left into the brow hairs, just to blend the concealers out. Up next, we're going to use New Caledonia. I also feel like the NARS only pumps out as a half instead of a whole. So let's just say we did half and half on each side. And boom. And lastly, the One Size. Keep in mind, I only use a little bit of each foundation. Just a little bit. This would have been so simple if I would have just mixed all of them together on my hand, but sometimes I'm extra, y'all. I honestly was gonna like layer them, but It's okay. Tap, 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 pat, 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 swiper, no swiping. This actually looks really, really good though. This looks good. Take your mirror and examine everything that you just did, okay? Is it nicely blended? Do you see any streaks? All of those things you need to make sure that you're checking for. That's how you learn how to blend like a pro, okay? This step is optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm going to take a dry sponge just like this, and I'm going to basically tap and blend my foundation. Nothing's on this sponge. You don't want it to be too damp, okay? And if you did it correctly, your foundation should not be lifting up, because sometimes I feel like your sponge can be too damp to where it starts to transfer and move your product. You don't want that to happen. So again, it's all about your product control. In this case, you don't want too much water in your products, in your tool. If you do have too much water, it's just going to lift up all the work that you just did. So boom. And this is what we transferred off of our face, just like this. And you'll slowly but surely see your face kind of like, it'll become more matte looking versus that dewy look. Your face is going to look more settled once you do this, instead of it looking wet still. And by the way, if you have dry skin, you want to make sure you use hydrating products. If you have oily skin, you want to use mattifying products. Do not confuse the two, okay? And it does not matter what skin type you have, you still want to make sure that you prime and moisturize according to your skin type. Next, I like to go in with a setting spray. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but to ensure that my face is kind of locked within each layer, like I want each layer to be like a chamber on my face. This is the first layer, the basic of my base, right? So I'm going to take the Makeup Revolution. This is the Super Fix Super Hold Misting Spray. And we're going to, just like that, right? Just a little bit. And then I'm going to take my fan and dry this down completely. We already did the brows, we did the setting of the brow bone and lid area, we did the wing, we primed, and we did our foundations, right? So I'm just going to show y'all how the lashes look. This is how I know my lashes are ready. That transparent bluish color is kind of becoming clear now. I don't know if y'all can tell. You can kind of see it more so on this lash versus this lash. But it's becoming more like, look at the difference. You see how this one is still a little blue and this one is turning clear, okay? This one is ready to place on. So I'm going to do my little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Just like that. And what this is doing is kind of flaring and fluffing out your lash hairs a little bit more. So we have that. To make it easier, let me get my tool. I have a lash tweezer, right? I'm going to put my lashes in this tweezer, and I'm going to make sure that it's centered in the middle, okay? So if you need to fan it, blow it, you can do that. I'm going to take my mirror, right? I'm not going to start all the way towards my tear duct area, okay? I want to start a little towards where my eye color is, right? So I'm going to pull it down just like this. Making sure that I'm looking down in my mirror so I can really see where this lash band is going to be placed. And I'm starting right where my eye color is, right? And I'm going to place it. It's not neat and it's not completely on the lid yet, but this is a stepping stone, okay? So I have that front portion. I can go ahead and wiggle and push that lash into the front, right? I'm going to take the tail portion. I don't really have to focus on the middle because the middle will do whatever I want it to once I do the end. I'm going to pull it, not too much, but I want to pull it enough to where, boom, I have it like that. Push it, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And you want to make sure that you really stick that lash. Don't be too harsh, but make sure that you're pushing that lash into your skin, okay? just like that. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Front portion, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. If you got a blank, to make sure it's not itching and it's not hurting. Sometimes it can make your eyes water if your lash band is too close to your tear duct area. That's why you tear up, and that's why it's uncomfortable. It feels like a little prick is in your eye because you got to pull your lash band back a little bit. So that's why I say start where your eye color is. Look head on if you have to, or look down, and you're gonna start right here where your color, the eye, I can't talk. And you're gonna start exactly where your eye color is, okay? And that should make it easy. Like, I can blink with no problem. I'm wearing contacts and everything, and this feels good, okay? So now that I have that, I'm gonna wiggle, wiggle, wiggle the middle. I sound so crazy, but I'm gonna wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Push that lash band into the skin. Once I have that, I'm gonna pinch, okay? So we're gonna look up if you have to, and pinch and pinch. Right now I'm pinching onto my real lashes and the fake lashes, okay? And we're making it into a sandwich. We're doing this to make sure that we have a nice and even blend. You don't want any spaces nor gaps within your lashes, okay? We want everything to be undetectable. Of course, we're wearing makeup, but that doesn't mean that it has to be to where, like, oh, I can see your lash band. I can see where you placed your lashes. And then you want to take your finger and push it upward. And this is going to help it look more fluffy, okay? Boom, just like that. And you have your eyelash on, okay? Simple, right? Now, if you want to, you can go on with some more mascara just to blend a little bit more. This is also going to help fluff that lash up. Instead of it like laying flat and straight, you don't want your lashes to lay like this, right? You want it to be all fluffy, and you know, so you can bat your eyes with your caterpillars, because period. And because I do have the mascara freshly on my lashes, I can go in and pinch again. And this is going to ensure that my real lashes and the false lashes stick to each other. And boom, you have your lashes. Y'all see how it faded and it became kind of on the clear side now? That's what you want, okay? You don't want it to dry too clear, but you want it to where whenever you put that lash on, it's not coating in your eyeball. Like, that's not fun at all. So you want to make sure that you're allowing it to dry down. So this time I'm going to use my fingers, doing the same thing, making sure that I look downward, and I'm starting where my eye color is. And we're going to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle just the front portion, okay? Wiggle that part. This part right here, you see, it's still loose. We're not going to focus on that right now. We're going to focus on the front portion. Wiggle that. We're not going to focus on the middle, because the middle is going to do what I want it to do when I do the end. So we're going to take the end, and you want to kind of pull the lash. Not too much to where, like, you know, you're going to rip it and then it's going to pull off. But you want to kind of pull it just ever so slightly to give like that little tug, a slight tug, and then you want to wiggle, 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 push that down, wiggle, 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 wiggle. So boom, we got that. Make sure that you're pushing that glue onto your skin. Do not be afraid, okay? Again, the key is to have a handheld mirror so you can really see. Because sometimes when you're head on, you can see it a little bit, but you see every detail of what you're doing when that mirror is like this in your hand, okay? So we got that. I'm gonna pinch, pinch, pinch until I feel like I'm good and there's no spacing in between the two. Just like that. You want to bat your eyes to make sure that, you know, it's not hurting you or anything like that. I'm going to take my mascara and coat the lash really good. Be sure not to poke yourself like I just did. Just like that. pinch it one more time to make sure that we have a good blend. And you are good to go. Look at you. Okay. If you haven't noticed, I like to multitask whenever I'm doing my makeup. I don't like to just do one step at a time, which is fine. If you feel like that's how you like to do your makeup, then hey, do whatever works for you. For concealers, I'm going to take my Too Faced Born This Way concealers. I have the shade Warm Beige and Maple. As you can see, it's kind of like a huge difference in color, but when y'all see, okay. So I'm going to put on Warm Beige first. And I'm actually going to mix it with that concealer that we had left over on this brush, because I don't want it to be too bold today. Like, I want a bright lifted under eye, but I don't want it to be too much, okay? Gonna basically help me with like the overall blend. It's not gonna be too overwhelming, so that's why it's kind of good to use a brush, because you have control of where everything is gonna go. Just like that. So I'm not gonna touch it. We're just gonna leave that be. Whatever is left over, I'm gonna put it right here and a little on the nose. And we're gonna allow this to kind of settle for about, I'll just say like maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Now I'm gonna take another sponge. This one is damp as well. It's the same kind of consistency as the other one I used. And we're gonna blend just like that. I'm only blending out the edges first. I might not have to use maple, to be honest with you. I think I'm satisfied with this, so I might not use maple, y'all. Just like that. And then now to blend out the front portion. If you feel like your concealer dried on a little too much, you can always go in with some setting spray or a continuous spray like the Morphe, and it'll kind of rejuvenate the product. Allow it to dry back down just ever so slightly and then blend it out, or do however works best for you, okay? Okay. This looks good already. I think I'm okay with this hue. Like, this is good. This is good for me. I'm not going in with maple anymore. Take my finger and tap this out. That brush I use for foundation, we're just gonna clean up the edges around the nose. Just like that, just like that, just like that. And make sure you clean it up as you go, because listen, it can be a little messy. Now I'm gonna take my It's Cosmetics. This is the Sunray blush. This blush is so beautiful. It's so freaking pretty. And I'm gonna put it right here on the cheek area. I just want a little bit today, actually. Not too heavy. Just this much. To mimic that blush shade, I'm taking the orange from out of this Juvia's Place Warrior 2, and we're going to put this on top to kind of seal it in. So I'm actually setting my blush first before my concealer. That's another trick that I've been doing lately, y'all. I told y'all I like to experiment with my makeup, and I don't know, I feel like with me doing this, it's easier to blend when it comes out to the next step, which is the powder, the loose powder. Okay, so for loose powder, I'm going to take my OG. This right here can go toe to toe with my high end as well. Like, she's that girl, okay? I've been using her for forever, okay? And she gets me right every single time. If there's no powder that gets me right, she's going to get me right. When I tell you I am not sponsored in no shape or form on this video, but this right here, she's my girl, okay? And this is the shade number 35, by the way. So before I even do anything, I want to make sure that I have no creasing. We're going to go in one more time with our sponge and blend the concealer out. Blend, blend, blend. Now this step right here, you want to make sure you're looking up so you can really get into the crease, that folding of your eye. Boom, just like that, right? So I'm going to take the sponge and dab it into the container, right? Take the back of your hand and get rid of the extra off of the sponge. We want the sponge to be nice and flat by the time we go in and set. So boom, we're gonna press it in, press, 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 and then I like to go in and push and pinch, and we're gonna press this powder into the concealed areas. I'm holding my nose because I want to make sure that I really get this little corner right here. Sometimes I miss it and I hate that. So boom. Do y'all see the difference? It just has a great coating. Like, the formula has such a great coating. So whatever is left over, I'm going to put it on my chin and around my mouth. So now that I have that, I'm going to shake. Matter of fact, let me close it back up. I'm going to close it back up. Shake the powder to give it an even surface, I guess. Going back into the sponge. We're going to press the sponge into the powder. Even if you wanted to go in with the lid and press it out, you can do that as well. I'm just going to use the back of my hand. We have our powder, and we're going to press, okay? Whatever we have left over, we're going to find something meaningful for it because we do not waste product, okay? So I'm going to put it on my nose, pinching the sponge, and we're going to put it on the nose and a little bit right here, okay? I like to turn the sponge upside down so that the pointed area can kind of fit where my bridge is on the nose. And boom. I'm taking a little more of the eyeshadow. By the way, this is a Real Techniques contour brush. And boom. You'll slowly but surely start to see a little warmth into the face with this blush. For a more chiseled look, y'all already know I'm using my Juvia's Place, the Bronzed Bronze. And I'm using both shades, mainly the darker one. And I'm using that same brush that I use for foundation. And I'm going to put it right underneath the blush to add dimension and more warmth to my face. Now, whatever is left on the brush, I'm going to pinch and put it on my nose area. And then we're going to blend it into the brows. And on the chin as well. So if you want to stop right here, you can, but I want to add a more lifted effect to my under eye. I'm taking Huda Beauty's. This is the Cuneifer powder, the Easy Bake powder. And then I also have Translucent Honey from Laura Mercier. And I'm going to kind of put both of these colors on for baking, basically. I dipped into the Huda Beauty first. And I'm going to put this right here. And right here. I look so crazy. And now for the Laura Mercier. I'm going to put this towards the tear duct area. And a little bit right here. Just a little bit, okay? Sometimes this powder gets on my contact and I hate it. Because, like, why are you doing it? In a strange way, I like how this looks. So I'm going to take a little more of this eyeshadow. Only because, like, it's going to kind of fade away. And boom. So as you can see, we have different gradients of like yellows and oranges and browns going on. It's all in the dimension, okay? I feel like my waterline liners come out better whenever I bake. So I'm going to take Raven from Smashbox. This is the Always Sharp liner. And we're going to put this along the waterline. I like to look up when I'm doing this as well. Just like that. And you see how it kind of intensifies the eye? I have to fan sometimes because my eyes get very, very watery. And I am not trying to mess up my face because I've come too far. Okay? We've come too far to mess up. I like to pretend as if I'm chewing gum as well. I'm gonna dust away this portion. Okay. So now for the lippy, because we're almost done. Really, we're done. My Ofra highlighter and put it on the tip of my nose. I'm going to take my liner one more time to kind of cover the lash band. My lips are already moisturized from the lip surge. Now I'm going to take this liner. This is an eyeliner actually from Believe Beauty in the shade Enchanted. I like to go in twice to really coat the lip. Taking my brown mascara from Essence, and I'm gonna coat the bottom lashes. Taking Mocha from AriWinkle. Two coats. And I'm also taking Snatched from AriWinkle. And lastly, I'm taking some clear gloss to put on the liner portion. Now I'm going to spray my face with some water, just regular H2O. Whew, okay. And to seal the deal, I'm going to take my all-nighter spray from Urban Decay. This right here will always be a staple as well. Ooh, okay. All right, you guys, so this is the completed look. I absolutely love how this turned out. Like, it's been a long time coming. I feel like I haven't done my makeup in so long because, like, I'm always on go. But I actually took the time out to do my makeup and sit down and explain it detail for detail with you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, comment down below a teddy bear. Yeah, we're doing a teddy bear today because we always do hearts, so let's do a teddy bear today. I'm about to take me some pictures and things like that. I might change my top. I actually love this pink on my melanin. This is so pretty. So yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. Bye, y'all.